that. There we go. I don't know. Yes, we are recording. And I am Andrea Goeglein, and this is the concluding gathering for the first series of weeks of the Unicorn Challenge. And I am going to actually date this, which I normally don't do with these things, just so people get a feel of why our conversation is the way it is with the Unicorn Challenge. We've gone past the first 30 days. And more particularly, and the fact that we're all female, I will say that going into the month of December tends to present additional challenges that, as people are listening, they may get to hear some of the things that complicate when we're trying to achieve. So welcome everyone, and thank you so much for being here this morning. And clearly I'm in my car again. I have another meeting after this, and I'm at the meeting, so we're in great shape. So Kirsty, would you like to go first since you weren't with us last week?
Yeah, I can talk about what I messaged you about on LinkedIn. Currently, what's going on. Yeah, last week I missed just because I felt like everything happened all at once. And I needed that. I need just like a mental health break just to sit. And it's like one of the tips you put, Andrea, of, be still, stop rushing. And I needed to just process because my two goals, I have two, and it's to update my LinkedIn profile and update my website. And I was working on that. And long story short, I lost all my work from 2017 to 2022. I've tried, I think, 2 or 3 different software recovery systems. My husband's going to try one. There's like a code I could probably try to use. So I'm trying every single solution I can find. And while some stuff I can recover from social media, some stuff I'm just assuming that I won't get back. Like the first gallery I participated in for my photography work, all the photos gone, the marketing materials I designed for that gallery gone. So it was heartbreaking, and I'm trying to go back to being my power woman self of I can jump into this problem, I can address it. But it's hard because I'm still getting through almost like the emotional grief of this happened.
I would like, I will have a lot to say on this, but Janice and Asara, do you want to contribute anything before I do?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think, like, if I'm putting myself in your shoes, yeah, you definitely deserve, that mental break, because sometimes, when and that's a lot. It sounds like it's a lot of content, that's just kind of like poof. But I don't know. I'm a big believer of God, and things happen for a reason, but maybe it's a way of, even though that's your history, maybe it's a way of saying like this is a rebirth of like a new you, like you get to start like on a new chapter, even though it's very important that you have that stuff, from those years. But I think just to kind of help you mentally get over it, because that I would be crushed as well. I think any person would be crushed. So good for you for taking the time off to kind of recover from a mental standpoint, because that's hard. That's your hard work that just boop.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Good job.
Oh. It is, Kirsty. Yeah, I don't really have much. I mean, Andrea is the person of wisdom that I would go to if something like that happened to me. But synchronistically, I guess I was talking just yesterday about I enjoy writing, and I was telling somebody, I go, yeah, you know what, I remember the day it was really hard for me to let go of. I filled like 4 bags of writing material and threw them away. However, mine was a choice. I'm going to respect your loss and your grief. I have a feeling, I don't want to tell you that they'll be recovered, but I also am a believer in God, and things happen for a purpose. What I found was when I released the old stuff that I had written, new things came in, and I was more forward thinking and holding on to who I was back then. So, I don't know but like I said, mine was totally a choice, and I have no doubt that you
Yeah.
are a very talented artist and new
Thank
things
you.
will constantly come in. And when
Yeah.
it's meant to appear, it will appear.
Yeah. So, Kirsty, there were so many things about what you wrote. One, I will tell you, you did, and this was honestly the strongest thing you could have done. Taking that break and really getting distance between you and the situation versus continually, putting the energy toward, I gotta find this, I gotta find this, I gotta find this. Just taking that break opened the way for potential solutions, if there is to be one, to possibly come in. And that is one of the hardest things for all of us get it done human beings to do. We want to get it done. We think that the harder we work and the more we strain, the better the result. And that's a lie. And that speaks to the unicorn challenge more than anything else. The next thing I will tell you is that you brought up a reminder, and it showed me and reminded me how your action was so much wiser than this original story. So when I was going into my doctoral program, we were told a story about a doctoral student who had done all literally, now this was the early 90s, so there were external drives, it was a very antiquated by what we know it, there was no cloud unless it was just in the sky for real. And so we were being told the stories on making sure you had discs and all this stuff. I will tell you that I'm the girl who still has in a safety deposit box the blippin' discs of my dissertation and my research work, because
the big ones like that. Yes.
Because the story they told us was of this woman who had done all of her work. I was in school in California, in Alameda, really close to Oakland. And in the early 90s, there was something known as the Oakland fires. And you watch the hills just light up. And this woman's work was completely burned to the ground along with her home.
Wow.
And the story was she never completed her doctorate because of that. And her not completing her doctorate devastated me more than the fire in my own mind. It was like, you can't let something like that take your work away. I understood it. It's both time, money. There's so much that went into that. But the thought that someone would lose what they had worked for. And, to Janice being a writer, there is this thing about, and all of us have lost work, especially during the first years of owning. I remember the disasters of losing work. And I also remember the make-believe myth that the first thing you write is the best, and that actually stops you from being able to my little car office here is just very busy. It stops you. The myth that the first thing is the best thing is one of those things that stops you from making the step. So your ability to take a break, then open up to continuing to see if I can recover it. What I will suspect is happening now, once you have a list of the material that was the material you wanted the most, to Nasara's and Janice's points individually, there may be some creative way for you to showcase those things that were lost in your voice today, with your design today. Because something that was 5 years ago in your world is like looking at one of my 10-year-old videos. And it has nothing to do with having aged 10 years. It has everything to do with how comfortable you are, the quality of how you present work, all of that kind of thing. So I just want to commend you for using the points of taking breaks. And you did it at one of the most critical moments, that time when, wow, if anything, I'm driven to keep going to try and solve this problem. And that's probably the greatest time for you to take that break. So I look forward, because I know we will be in continual conversation, to know how you resolve that, however it does, and move forward. Because that's the thing I know at this point. You are going to move forward.
Yep.
And I have
Yeah,
this
for sure.
phrase pop into my head, so I want to get it out there. You
Okay.
may have lost your portfolio temporarily, hopefully, but you did not lose your talent.
Wow. There you go.
Y'all are gonna make me cry. It's still fresh. It's still so close to me. I'm getting teary-eyed right now, but
yeah,
this is
I get it.
interesting. Y'all are gonna have me think, because when it first happened and I posted on Instagram about it, people are like, well, did you try this? Did you try this? What about this? And I just got, I mean, people are trying to help,
I
but it
know.
was interesting, the switch of what if this is a rebirth? You know,
Mm,
Right.
everybody.
that's a
Yeah.
mind twist for me. I'm
Yes.
gonna think about for sure.
Yeah. Yep. And thank you so much for letting, because we have all been there at one level or another. It's a very interesting, and to Janice's point, the difference between choice and no choice, that happens with people who get fired from jobs that they hate. I see it a lot. They will spend years angsting about how horrible their occupation is or the people they work with. But then all of a sudden they get fired, and you would have thought they lost the best job in their life, and they are so devastated. Well, it's because they lost choice.
Mm.
And I once sold all of our possessions except for dishes and art. We sold every chair, everything that we owned, and we moved across country. And I remembered feeling this huge void, like, oh, I just, like, the last 5-7 years of my life are now completely gone. But I had chosen to do that, and I was in the process of rebuilding. And then a friend had a fire. When you're in Northern California, fires are kind of a way of life. And theirs was very unique. Theirs was the only house on the block. They went out to dinner, and theirs was the only house on the block that burned to the ground. Every Christmas ornament, every picture, everything they ever owned was gone. And I remembered reflecting. So choice is the word. And I will say that how we respond to those devastations is also the choice. And that's why I commend so highly what you have done. I was also intrigued. I know how to do this. There we go. I was also intrigued by the fact that on Instagram, people were immediately giving solutions. That is, again, one of our attributes in this society. You know, maybe you just needed to say how awful it was. And I see this with illness diagnosis all the time. Everybody's got their way of, and I now have a joke when people offer some solutions for my husband's situation that's been going on for 30 years. I keep saying, do they think I haven't been doing anything for the last 30 years? Like, and it's really, it's cute, but it is, you know, we want to offer solutions, and the work of getting recentered and revitalizing your mind and making clear choices is more centered in silence. We have learned that through the science. It is more about backing away and not doing what the system had trained us to artificially, but to calm down the mind, to then allow that the suggestions being made, which ones may actually work. Your brain will, something will connect if there is something out there that can work. Yeah.
I do have to give a shout out to my friend Ann Raby, photographer from San Francisco. Her solution was just a stiff drink. And I was thinking, honey, that might be it.
That is always a good idea.
To drink.
Chocolate, if alcohol's not in your world, there is something that gives us that little buzz that will do no harm. And it's just like, okay, I deserve this. It ends with the I deserve this mode to it for sure. Yeah.
I think, celebration of it and thinking about how it can be a rebirth.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to work on.
Yeah. And so, Nassar, Janice, is there anything that you'd like to contribute from where you guys are at this point?
I'm going to let Nassara go first.
I saw the little green box highlight her. So I was like, oh, good, she's going first. Yeah, so I had last week had declared, getting this one training done. But then when I realized the amount, when I very quickly did, the math in my head about, our training watch time hours versus daily hours and what I had set aside from that, instantly I was just like, oh yeah, that's mathematically just not going to work out. If you have 1,000 hours and only like 100 in like a week span, like, it's just not going to work out. So, but I did what I could. And I remembered one of Andrea's tips that was like, kind of the small things matter and they add up. So one of the things was my background. So I have like this hideous, behind this wall, I have like this hideous, like kind of tannish kind of color, but it was messing up with my lighting. And on my YouTube videos, when I do talking ones, it just looked terrible. So I got these bad boys in, figured out how to get them up on the wall without having to damage it. And then I had the assistance of my husband last night, which usually I'm just like, no, I'll do it all by myself. But I was like, let me have him do this because I'm just mentally kind of drained. And it was probably like, I don't know, 7 o'clock at night. So I just realized, any any small step in the right direction is still a step. So I was like, it's still progress. It's not, huge leaps and bounds. But to me, getting this wall up behind me, sets me up perfectly for my recording later. And I just get to build on that. So small wins worked out for me.
You have just defined why we do the dump list. Once that's there, it's not as though those objectives and things that you want to achieve go away, but you have an organized way to then start the next processes. Like, what does it take to actually do those things? And I will tell you that, I put out last week, evening meditation was a tough thing for me. So I actually, the first night, what I did was identify what the resistance is. The resistance is, I don't want to hear voices. I was listening. I had scheduled guided meditations. And instead, I have already fit in twice, just setting a 15-minute clock and just being silent, sometime after 8:30 and before I go to bed, sitting up. And then it wasn't, so I removed one of the walls of resistance. But in turn, what I also added was a meditation in the morning of 30, it's the same one, and it's a meditation on joy. And I said, for the month of December, for me, that's what I really wanted to add in. But I now know how I'm going to be adding. And that's you do the small things that you can do, to your point, Nassar, that is, and then you're going to teach me about that background, because one of my January ones is to get my office lighting is really horrible for videos. And I have these terrible downlights that they could make a baby look bad. And just not good. And I need to do certain things to make my environment camera ready. So those are the things I think Judith may have been able to get on. Nope. Okay. I don't know what that ding dong was.
She made it.
Oh, she did?
Yep.
Is she there? Okay, because she's not on my screen.
You might have to swipe.
Swipe.
She might be on your next link.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, she's in a car too. I love it. We are a devoted
Hi,
group.
Judith.
We
Hi.
are a devoted group.
But when the time comes, let me know. We've learned a lot.
Yay!
So
See, this is perfect. The time will come soon.
yes,
The time will come soon. But your action of taking the small step, even, because that's another thing. We have this all or nothing mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you break the habit of the all or nothing mentality, you get closer to being able to achieve the things that you say are important right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Judith, I would love for you, obviously, we've been having a lot of conversations about loss and what you do, how it stops you, how an earth-shattering thing can stop you in your tracks from achieving something that you want to do, how you set a goal and then you have the realization that, oh my goodness, this is not something, the way I thought I could get it done is not the way I could get it done. And I would, if you are ready and would like to contribute something, I would like to invite you to do that.
When the sadness or the grief or whatever overcomes you with trauma or loss or whatever that's about, it's like you have this tunnel vision and you don't see all the options and opportunities because of the tunnel vision and the reduced ability to think outside the box, because you're so in the box of feeling the emotion. And so when you can follow a prescriptive approach in utilizing music to relieve the unsettledness, it's amazing how you can all of a sudden see clearly more options. So I'm happily going to a bank right now to open up an account because of a major gift that came in. And I'm
congratulations.
Like, totally shocked. So we're in the throes of deciding, okay, so exactly how are we going to portion this extremely sizable gift into appropriate investments and all of that. So I'm like, I'm on kind of a different page right now.
Wow.
But I also recently, got consumed with memory and remembering in a public situation where I was totally engulfed with the emotion and describing to a large audience, what was happening. And because I had people surrounding me that were able to keep me on track, I was able to continue providing what I was supposed to provide. So it's like it's essential to have a team surrounding you that understands what the goals are, understands the heaviness of whatever might be shared, so that they can, be there to support, guide, and make sure that the end goal is realized.
Judith, I'll say that when you started to speak, and this is not at all that this is what you're going to do with it, but what you're saying about a gift you did not expect coming in. I also know that you're out in the market with a Kickstarter, and probably were not as encouraged by the initial reaction to the Kickstarter as you would have wanted to be. And this is another thing we humans do. We keep our sight on the one thing that's going to solve a problem, or how it's going to solve a problem. But when you do things like what Judith mentioned, the lightening up through the use of music, and you know, you don't have to wait for a trauma. You allow that opening again. And solutions come to us in ways that we don't expect. Like, you may not choose to use that gift towards your app, but the fact that something entered in a different way is what I want us all to pay attention to. That's why the emotional health, keeping, and you know, through me, it's the use of our values and using our values on a daily basis to raise our emotional vibration. These are the ways that we attract things into our life that are other solutions than the ones we had originally thought. It's because to what Judith was saying and what we were talking about, you open up the possibility that there are other ways and there's other reasons to get to how and what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it's putting into perspective. So thank you for bringing up the Kickstarter. That was, and it still is, an excellent platform to really decipher what it is you want to put out there and to be very clear about it. So that is very valuable, and it may totally fund. Who knows?
Right.
There's still options that are
right.
that people are going down to do that. But there is another avenue, and that actually you had made a comment that made me realize that, oh, you know what, we really do need to look at this other option. So we have a shareholder that said, oh, I've got this platform for investors, and it, you know, requires this much money in order to build it because it's totally FCC. It's compliant, securities, all of that. And oh, by the way, there's a lot of companies on there that are getting completely funded with it. And so it's a circle of people that I've been with for probably about 6 years now. And, you know, just having this patent is such a big deal that we're actually going that direction. So it's going to be very much investment related with our current shareholders going, yeah, this is the direction that we need to go. So that's where some of this gift money is going to be going, is to be able to create that platform where actually investors want to be a part of what we're doing instead of just donating to a cause, right?
Right. That's great.
Right.
That's great. Now, Janice, I don't want to leave you out, honey.
That's okay. You know what? Honestly, as before Nishara even started talking, I wrote down celebrate my small accomplishments. So I wrote 1,200 words to this week. With me, there's always a lot of judgment. Will another person like this? You know, why am I doing it? Will it be received as I intended? So writing those words was a thing to celebrate for me, because you know what, at the end of the day, it brought me a lot of joy. It brought back some memories that were really good and live in my heart. I don't want to park there, but you know, it's fun. So all is good on my end.
Great. Okay. Well, so ladies, you know, for now, this is complete. Unless, and you, all of you know where to find me. Know that in January, I am going to do another 4 week. I think it's going to be a 4-week session just like this. I'm going to put it out on LinkedIn for the donation to Teach for America, and then do either 3 or 4 of these half-hour follow-ups to get started again. I'll circle back with you guys if maybe somewhere in the first or second week of the month we want to get together. It would be the second Tuesday, not the first Tuesday, because I have this meeting again on that day, where we could just come together to see where we are. But most of all, you know where to find me. And I definitely want to keep these conversations going and know where each one of you are in the progress that you're making so far.
Okay.
All right.
All
No,
right.
it sounds
Have a
great.
great day, everybody.
Have a beautiful time and use December to keep your goals, doing the small stuff towards your goals so that you can enjoy the really big stuff that can happen in a month when the whole world lights up.
Okay.
Right. I
I
love it. I
like
love
that.
it.
In a month where the whole world lights up. All
It
right.
does. It
It
does.
does. All right.
All right,
Bye.
ladies.
Blessings
Bye.
to everybody.
Yeah, bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
getting on, Judith, and I can't
Yes.
wait to hear. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Andrea. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.